Okay, I wanted to show you my chicken here that I took the picture of earlier. This is my little roasted chicken. I didn't have too much to include in it this weekend, so that should be encouraging to you. All I have is like one red pepper in there, some celery, mushrooms, always onions scattered about, and all of the stuff that you see on the top is coarsely ground black pepper. Can't see the salt, but it's there. Some thyme, fresh thyme from my garden, my herb garden, and rosemary. So what I am going to do is debone this chicken, and later we'll talk about what to do with these wonderful meat juices that you see in the bottom of the pan. Those are very important. We're going to use those in one way or another. Not waste them. That's the best part, the whole thing. By the way, I'm moving to another point here, jumping ahead, but I'll show you while we're here that I have simmering a little too much. Turn that down. I have simmering some red kidney beans with some bay leaves in there that I have soaked overnight and started simmering and about an hour and a half ago, and that's going to be used in several recipes this week. So here's what I've done since I had the camera off. I have deboned the chicken, and it is there. The bones are back in my crock pot because it's kind of cold out right now, so I don't mind having the crock pot out on the counter for the next 8 or more hours. I have it set, as you can see, on high. And what I've done, I've put the bones in there. I've added some more fresh onion with the skins, as long as it's organic and you've washed it. You actually want those skins of the yellow onions in there because it's going to give your chicken broth a nice golden color. So I have the onions in there, celery, plenty of salt and pepper, a clove of garlic, and all the bones and the fat and the skin that I did not eat. Yes, I do eat the crispy skin off the top of the chicken, and why not, with all that wonderful rosemary and other herbs on it. Best part of it. Okay, so that is going to simmer for a long while. Okay, here I have a rather unappetizing conglomeration here of the meat juices from the chicken with some leftover bits of skin, onions, but that no matter, it is going to be yummy. Just to take that with some freshly ground flour. Now, I'm not worried about gluten, especially in my own freshly ground flour. I have my own wheat berries in 5-pound buckets. I grind the flour just before I use it. Actually, this has been in the refrigerator. This is leftover that I ground for bread or whatever. But it's been in the fridge for a few days. But I am going to add this to the meat juices, which I have cooled. And I can't give you exact measurements. And if you are definitely gluten sensitive and you don't grind your own wheat and you can't find access to freshly ground flour, you could use cornstarch or whatever other thickening agent in this. But I'm using the freshly ground flour. So I'm going to incorporate that into the meat juices here. I've cooled them. I don't want to cook my flour until I have incorporated that in. Okay, so I'm going to continue to stir this for a little while, and I'm going to turn the heat back on when I have all the lumps out of it and cook this flour as long as I do not add any other liquid. No water, no milk, as long as it is just the meat juices. I am not thickening this liquid. That's the beautiful thing about making a gravy. See, I'm a Southern girl. I see these meat juices, I think gravy. Gotta make gravy with this. But you're not going to thicken it. You're going to cook, and then it's not going to thicken until I add some other liquid. Okay, heat is off. I'm stirring the lumps out, and I'm going to turn the heat on and cook this. And I'll pick back up there in a minute or two. Okay, I've been cooking this mixture of the pan juices from the roasting pan from the chicken and the freshly ground organic flour for about a minute, 2 minutes, and it actually is cooking the flour. It gets out any risk of you having a taste of raw, flour in there, and it does get kind of yucky. The fat kind of shows, but again, as long as you haven't added any other liquid, you're not going to run the risk of having like dumplings in there. It's not going to thicken to that extent. Okay, and remember, I already had some salt, pepper, the rosemary, the garlic, the onions, everything that I had in that pan while the chicken was cooking has already seasoned this a good bit, but I am going to add more because I'm about to dilute it a good bit with other liquids. So there's plenty of room left for other seasonings. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some good quality, coarsely ground pepper and Celtic sea salt, which is the kind I always use, and I am going to put that in there. And if I had white wine, I would add a little bit at this moment, and then I would quickly have to go ahead and add the water because even the white wine going in there would start the thickening process. But unfortunately, I don't have any white wine, so we'll have to do without that right now. Okay, so while the heat is on medium here, still cooking, I am going to slowly add, and since I'm having to hold the camera here, normally I would be stirring already, but I think I have time. I'm going to add some water and begin to incorporate that water into my juice. And since I have the pan down on medium, it's not cooking it too fast. At first it looks a little lumpy, but what you're going to notice is immediately when you add that liquid, your thickening process starts. Isn't that amazing that until you add the liquid, just having the pan juices will not thicken that flour? That's when you want to cook the flour, with just the pan juices in there. And then when they're cooked, you will begin to add your liquids in whatever quantity. So that was probably, I don't know, it's not even any need to give you measurements because you don't know, you have different pan juices quantities depending on the size of the chicken. You just gotta have to go with intuition on this as you do it. There's no recipe for this. Not really. Okay, so I'm going to begin to turn it up here and bring that to a boil. I add a combination of water and some kind of dairy because I like my gravy, my chicken sauce to be a light color. That's just me. You could end right here with the water. You could add miso right here. You could add teriyaki. If you could add any kind of natural darkening agent right here. This is going to be a little bit whiter, a little bit blonder. So I have my organic Valley half and half. You can do milk, you can do cream, just a good quality dairy here. I'm going to add that later and turn this a pretty white color, lighter color. But I'm going to make sure this is nice and thick and that I don't need to add more water first because I actually want this to come to a little bubbly boil and finish the thickening process, as you can see it's doing right here, before I add my dairy. Okay, I can add the dairy while the heat is up. And you'll see it's just going to be enough to give that a nice white color. Okay, why am I doing this? Well, I do several things with this. You just don't want to waste the pan juices. If you're going to roast this chicken and you're going to get the most out of it and you're going to use those bones and make the stock, don't throw away this good fatty meat juices. This is a lot of nutrition and good fat in here. So what I'll do with this is I'll put all the meat back into this, or most of it. And I'll use this in recipes. It's wonderful over rice. And I'm getting ahead on my tips here, but one of my tips is to make some rice and some quinoa. So serve that over rice or quinoa with the chicken in it and your broccoli or asparagus or kale on the side. You have a complete meal right there. Wonderful meal. If you want to use some of the chicken in a recipe that doesn't need any gravy on it, like maybe you're going to make chicken tacos or something like a chicken salad or something like that, you can freeze this and then use it to thicken soups later.